Comic Uno and Comic Frontline, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 39, and this is a show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show. Also, next week I don't have any in-depth reviews for Comic Uno, so this will be the totally exclusive place to find my reviews for next week, because I'm taking a little bit of a weekend hiatus, and the next episode should be around Sunday night, Monday night, or Monday, so it should be a little later than I usually have for my reviews. So just want to give you guys that little update. But let's get started. I actually read a lot of comics this week, about 17, 2 digital, rest all printed. So let's get started. First, I just want to say, not really any bad comics this week. Nothing that really blew my mind either. So it was kind of a mediocre week this week. But let's start out with the worst pick of the week. Again, not a bad comic. Nothing really totally bad. Just something I least liked this week. And that was actually Hawkeye, issue 17. This is the one-shot type story where Clint thinks he's a puppy from a Christmas special, and we get to see some familiar faces. Like Lily is supposed to be pretty much like Kate. We get to see, which is really funny actually, this dog that's supposed to be Spider-Woman, and then another dog that's supposed to be Mockingbird. So I thought that was really cool, especially the wiener dog that just has these little spider legs coming out of it. So I thought that was kind of funny. But the rest of the story is okay, you know, nothing a lot going on. It was fun, I guess, you know, having the bros be these coyotes. But saying that, I really liked the last issue, and I wanted to find out how Clint and Bart were going to get out of that last scene where they get shot in the head. So, especially since we're going to get the Kate story for, I think, like 3 more issues, it's a shame that they have this story instead of, you know, the story I want to see continue with Clint. So really, now we have a big hiatus, a big gap that previously with Hawkeye we've gotten before with these type of story arcs. So overall, I thought it was cute, definitely. I give it 3 stars, and I think it's worth picking up. So usually with 3 stars, I lean towards either pick it up or don't pick it up. I think it's worth picking up, but I think it's trying too hard at the same time. Like, it was fun, but not really funny. There was maybe some points I laughed, but overall, I thought it was just trying a little bit too hard, in my opinion. So I'm going to give it 3 stars, and this is my worst pick of the week, but it doesn't mean it was a bad comic. I was just a little disappointed with this one this week. So I'm going to give that 3 stars. It's really surprising to see Hawkeye as a worst pick of the week. I was shocked as much as you guys. Alright, so number 16 we're up to, which is Black Widow, issue 4. Not a bad comic either. I actually gave this a 3.5. But I'm probably going to drop the series at this point, and actually why my grade was lower. This probably would have gone 4 stars, a little higher if this was a first issue, but the story arc, still not progressing. You can see there is a story arc, but nothing totally, truly interesting. And I feel that it's the same thing over and over again with these issues. It has that Cold War feeling, you know, that spy feeling, I would say. That Russian spy feeling. Like, I love the Americans, so I like that type of stuff. But I feel it needed a little bit more with this series. Tell me why to like Natasha. And this series doesn't provide that at all so far. So, I am going to end up dropping it just because there's a lot of new series coming out, and I feel like this has been on the tail end. And I said I'll give it 1 more issue. If there's a story arc that I'm intrigued with, I'll keep it, and there really wasn't here. It was a good issue. I really liked the narration, even though the colors really blend a little bit too much. Good example here is the explosion. I still do like the art overall, but I don't think there's enough here to keep me reading. There's not really a hook for me, but I still like the narration a lot, and I really hope it goes in some sort of direction, because right now it's kind of at a standstill. So that's why I did give it a lower grade, even though the writing was pretty good, but the story not so much. So I'm going to give that 3.5, and that's number 16, I'm pretty sure. Alright, so now we're up to number 15, which is All New XMen, issue 24. Yeah, this issue, again, if this was maybe a part 2, would have been a little higher, but we've been getting the Trials of Jean Grey for a couple of issues now. I think it spread itself a little bit too thin here. A lot of the same things going on, and there's not enough trial for me. First of all, like the trials, I think over 2 issues that the trial has started lasted about 5 pages. So I really want to dig a little bit deeper into Jean Grey's character, of her haunted by her past. But we don't see that here. It's just like, here's a trial, let's get her out of it. The Guardians and, you know, all new X-Men, they come, try to get her, and then she's like, I'm guilty, guys. You know, I'm going to give you guys the exact line. She says, "You're right, I'm guilty, I'm a monster." So, I don't know what they're going to do with that. I thought that cliffhanger was actually really cool. Again, not really bad issue. So, even though this is a lot lower, I didn't think this was a bad issue. So, I did like this issue, but overall, again, spread itself too thin. I feel there's so many characters here, there's no shining moment. I think there are some funny moments, like one example I gave in my in-depth review was the X-23 moment where she says something and everyone's like, oh, I didn't even know you existed until you said that. So I thought that was pretty fun. There's some funny moments, but not a lot of character shining because all these characters are all talking at the same time. Way too much going on at page, and that's how I feel about Charles Jean Grey. And I expected a little bit more with this story arc, and I just didn't get it. So art's good, still a good story, just not what I kind of wanted. Hopefully the end satisfies me a little bit more than this issue, because again, not a lot going on, not a lot of trial going on here. So, but still, it's still cool to see the Guardians and X-Men teaming up. But again, they're two big teams trying to share a comic. It doesn't quite work. Alright, now we're up to number 14, which is Captain Marvel issue 1. Another not bad comic. Again, it's just kind of lower on my list. What I least liked this week, which were a lot of pretty solid comics coming out this week. With this issue, I felt I really like the supporting cast, but we're not going to see the supporting cast through how long she's going to be in space. Really, it sets up for Carol to go in space. They even have a story of her going to space, trying to get some product from the Manasiano outpost. So we get to see her trying to get this thing, and that didn't totally intrigue me. When I read that first scene, I'm like, alright, kind of get to the point. I don't even know what you're trying to get. Like, I don't get it. And then we get to the 6 weeks ago story, and I'm like, alright, cool. I like the supporting cast. I definitely like that portion a lot more than that first scene. And that first scene is going to be the rest of the comic. Or the rest of the series. So that kind of disappointed me, and when I saw it in the end, I'm like, oh, she's really going to go to space all the time? But you introduced this whole cool cast, which I know was pretty much the follow-up from the last series. So I know they did that because of the fans from the last series getting some closure with those characters, which I'm sure we'll see again once Carol, comes back to Earth. But yeah, so that's why I felt a little unsatisfied with this issue, but still really like this issue. I thought this was a big improvement from what I was reading with Volume 1. Thought the art was really good. I did like the supporting cast a lot, so yeah, I thought this was a pretty okay issue. I'm going to give it 3.5, and I see myself holding on to this series for a little while, so hopefully it doesn't disappoint with the next couple of issues, but I did like issue 1. I thought it was pretty okay, so I'm going to give that a 3.5. Alright, we're up to number 13, which is Trish Out of Water, issue 4. Pretty solid issue. I did like it. Maybe a little unsatisfying of the ending. This is the last issue for Trish Out of Water, which is a shame. I've been loving this series, which is ongoing. But with this issue, we get to see Trish learns that she's the queen of her kingdom, pretty much. And she's learning a little bit more about her heritage. And also we see her friends teaming up with one of the captains from her water place, I guess the Fathom type place. So we get to see them doing their own thing and learning about interrogation of their planet. They're allowed to interrogate people who are already dead, and that includes the Queen, Trish's mother. And that's how it ends. Says the end, or is it? But there's no other series going on. Where am I gonna follow this? I wish they said Trish Out of Water, Volume 2. So I kind of wish we had a place, maybe like a letter to the editor type thing in the end to show, like, where can we find Trish? Or make it obvious when she does return, in the solicits or when you're selling your comics. But yeah, I thought this was a good issue still. I still really like Trish. I was still unsatisfied with the ending, but I like Trish learning a little bit more about her heritage, really what this whole issue was about. The art was really good, really cool, and I really like the vibe of the series overall. So if you didn't read Trish Out of Water, I really do recommend it, even though, again, I was a little unsatisfied with the ending. Seems like they're going to continue it somehow, so I liked it. I recommend the whole series. It was really fun. And I know it came close, and I think once was my pick of the week. So I've been enjoying Trish Out of Water. It's a shame to see this last issue a little lower than I expected. Alright, next is, I think, number 12. Yes, number 12, which is The Superior Foes of Spider-Man, issue 9. This is a cool issue. I liked it. We get to see Boomerang being kind of the coward he is. He goes up against Bullseye, which we learned is not actually Bullseye, which he died I think about a year or two ago. So he already died, and this is just a robot, and we learned exactly who Boomerang is. Like, he's a coward. He would kill his girlfriend before actually killing himself. And then we also get the story with the Shocker trying to hide a head, and he actually gets betrayed by Hydro, because Hydro leaves to probably tell everybody that, you know, what's his name, Shocker has the head of Silvio. And that's what happens. Boomerang then lets go. He's like, hey, I'm going to get the painting. He does get the painting. He screws everyone over. And I guess the girlfriend's screwed over also. I don't know if we'll be seeing her again, but it'll be fun when you do. And then in the end, it's like, hey, I'm a free soul. And not exactly a free soul, because did he forget about his team? Probably, because now he has to hang out with his team, which I like better. And that's actually the problem I have with this issue. It's not a big problem, but I felt like it was a little bit too Boomerang-centric. I'm looking this for the superior foes. I'm looking for this for the Sinister Six, you know. We want the whole team. We haven't really seen the whole team for a little while. But still a cool issue. We get to see the cowardness. There's some good laughs here. I love the art for this series. And it's a fun series. I really like it overall. I have a fun time with this series. Even though this issue I thought was a little weaker than past issues, I still thought it was pretty cool. And I'm going to give it 3.5. I still really liked it. Still recommend buying it, and I'm really excited to see what this girlfriend does in the end. I don't think she's going to be his girlfriend for any longer. But pretty cool issue. Which I actually think I gave Trish Out of Water 3.5. I don't know why I said 4 before, guys. Alright, number 11 is Superior Spider-Man issue 29. So a little bit of a middle ground here for this week. I liked it, but it was a very point A, point B type issue. We get to see, Green Goblin. He's getting closer to defeating Superior Spider-Man. Superior hears that Anna Marie gets kidnapped. He has to go try to save Anna Marie, but actually it's his friend that was the professor throughout the series. So I like we're getting some connected the dots from previous issues from the series. It feels like they're really trying to end the Superior story arc, which is really nice. And also, again, have that roundabout of what's been going on throughout the whole series. But then, in the end, we get to see J. Jonah Jameson. He gets Spider Slayer, because, yeah, there's this whole Goblin thing going on, but he doesn't care. He wants to kill Spider-Man. And he's about to kill Spider-Man, but Norman Osborn takes over all the Spider Slayers and is going to kill Spider-Man 2099 in Superior Spider-Man. And Spider-Man 2099 comes about around the end and tries to save Superior, which I'm not a big fan of him, so that was also a cliffhanger. I'm like, do I really want to see him anymore? Which I understand. They introduced him, so they want to give us a little more with him, but I'm not a big fan of him. But yeah, overall, not too much going on. A lot of point A to point B things, like I said, and that's why I really couldn't go higher than 4 stars. And it's a little bit more of a middle ground issue, especially after the wonderful issue we got last week, or 2 weeks ago. So, still cool. Don't know if the Spider Slayers were really necessary, but I like that the Goblin is really getting closer to defeating Superior Spider-Man. So I think that's pretty cool. No sign of Peter in this issue, but hopefully with the next issue we'll get to see some more Peter action. I think we're really close to the end, so yeah, I think we're about 1 or 2 more issues towards the end, because April is when we get the Amazing Spider-Man. So, yeah, so I give that 4 stars. I liked it. It was just a little bit more of a solid issue. Alright, number 10 is Batgirl, issue 29. Another series that's a little lower than it usually is, which is very a shame. But with this issue, I did like it. It's continuing that vampire story arc where he thinks everyone in Gotham are vampires, and he's just pretty much crazy. And Barbara teams up with Strix, which is probably the best moment of this issue, was that teaming up with Strix and Barbara. But to save this girl, which we find out is a vampire in the end, and iVampire comes to take her and kill her, and that's it. So yeah, I think the issue was really good up to that point, where we started getting a little ridiculous. Like, iVampire, a series that got canceled about a year ago, like, yeah, let's bring him into it and actually make a girl the vampire. Which, what I liked about the story arc is that I thought this guy was just crazy. Like, he thought his mother died, which I really liked that story from vampires, because she killed herself in a bathtub, and all the blood drained down to the bottom. So I thought he was just crazy, and I liked that idea, but then he was actually right, and I'm like, that kind of screwed up the whole arc, because he was supposed to be crazy. That was what's interesting about him. But yeah, there's actually some really cool character moments between Barbara and Strix. I think that's still in place. I love Gail Simone's narration. The art's really good here. But so besides the ending, I still like the issue, but it's a little bit of a filler story arc, so that's one thing I could complain about. It's only a $2.99 book, so I recommend it. 4 stars. Just not as good as it usually is, but still a good book. So give that 4 stars. Alright, next is number 9, which is Invincible, issue 109. Yeah, so I have that digitally, don't have that with me printed. But this is a really cool, solid issue. We get to see Invincible in this new era where his other portion actually is this really bad guy. He killed Eve in this dimension. So now he just wants to get rid of, go away, and he teams up with some unlikely allies, and he's able to go away in the end of the issue, but there's a lot of craziness going on with Robot actually in the end taking over his clone body, and who knows what Robot's actually going to end up doing in this world. This might cause some trouble for Mark in the future. But he does escape, and that's pretty much it. I think I was a little rushed at that point, because I feel like this could have taken a whole arc, which I'm glad it didn't, because I don't think it's interesting enough to take a whole arc, but it was very rushed. Like, months really happened in only one issue, but it was still really interesting. I love the art for this, even though the guts and gore is all over the place. That's what I love about Invincible. It's drawn so nicely here. It's still really cool to see Mark, what he could have been with only a few choices. So it's cool to see the alternate dimensions. I think it works really well for the series. It is a solid issue. I really liked it, but I'm glad we're going back to the regular universe, especially to try to get what's going on with Robot for leaving him in the last issue. So it's still fun. There's some really cool, fun details like, Mark shaving his head to look like his other self, and then his hair growing out and everything because it took so many months to get out of there. But yeah, still a really solid issue. There's some cool moments in there, and I definitely recommend it. But yeah, not one of the best Invincible issues I read, but still a really fun issue. Alright, next is number 8, which is Fantastic Four, issue 2. Definitely an improvement from issue 1, in my opinion. I didn't love issue 1, but I actually did think this is a solid issue. So mostly there's these creatures coming from Franklin's mind, and they're swarming around New York, everyone trying to defeat them, and the Fantastic Four, they go out to try to defeat them all, and the only way to defeat them is for Johnny to use his powers with this negative zone thing, and when he does use his powers, and all, the swarm all die down and everything, but Johnny loses his powers in the end. So I like this issue. I thought it was really solid. I think there's some character moments that are kind of off, which I described in my in-depth review. I still think Sue's a little off. For me, I don't know why, I just feel a little off with her. There's just some of her dialogue that feels very repetitive in times. She doesn't feel really defined in any moment throughout the whole issue, and it makes me feel that Robinson can't really write a female character. And that's how I really felt throughout this issue, so that was one little disappointment. And also in the end, where Johnny just kind of, I know there's a lot going on. I feel like they could have hesitated for a second after Reed says something could happen to him. They don't even hesitate. They're just like, go, Johnny, go! So, yeah, maybe Johnny did deserve to lose his powers because your family doesn't care about you. They're just like, go! Save the world! Without even talking about it. Again, I know there's a lot going on, so there's not a lot of time to talk, but maybe like a 2-second conversation is like, wait, Johnny, you really think you should do it? No, go! So yeah, so the ending I felt was a little weird in the family-wise, but still a really solid issue. You know why I think it's a solid issue? Because finally we're getting generic Fantastic Four back, and I say generic in a good way. Because previously we've been getting these crazy Fantastic Four stories that have nothing to do with family and all about time travel and things, and even Hickman's run I thought was kind of out there too. But with this we're finally get a simple Fantastic Four. And with this story, it is a very simple story. The swarm attacks, Avengers help, Johnny loses his powers. Something we've seen before, but I think we need this for the series just to start out. Just to try to find its footing. I like that normal Fantastic Four again, and it's about the family. And we even see that with the cover here, the world's greatest comic magazine, which really was the start of the Fantastic Four. That's always what it was titled. So it's really going back to basics, and that's what I liked about it. Art's good. I don't agree with everything with this issue, but I still thought it was very solid and a big improvement from issue 1. So I'm going to give that 4 stars. And I did really like that issue, and really looking forward to see where the series goes in the future. Alright. Number 7 is Batman, issue 29. Yeah, a lot higher than I thought this would be, and this is really hard to review. Because in this issue we get to see not a lot going on. Commissioner Gordon trying to defeat Riddler doesn't quite work. Some flashbacks of Batman's parents dying, which we see 10,000 times. Him trying to defeat that creature that's been going on throughout 0 Year. And he does defeat him, and he's gonna go try to defeat Riddler. Doesn't quite work because he's the Riddler, so it seems like there's all despair because the Riddler is blowing up all these things, and Batman, again, is in despair in the end. But again, I think that the dialogue for this series is great. I love it. The art is freaking amazing. Look at this. This is an homage back to Dark Knight Returns, which hopefully I can find the page right here. So the art is beautiful. I love the art, love the coloring, and I like the storytelling of it. But the story in general is just going so slow, and it's a very slow burn, and I'm losing interest in 0 Year altogether. Like, I thought 0 Year was intriguing, but I was never excited for 0 Year, and now that it's been going on forever and ever, and not a lot's getting accomplished, I just feel like I just want this to be over now, especially after we got Batman Eternal last month. Like, I'm like, I want that, not this. Which is good that Batman Eternal's coming out next week, and still we got Batman's 0 Year going on with Batman. But yeah, it's still worth it. I mean, there's a lot of good pages here, and that's why it's so hard to review. I like the story. It's given. I just don't like where the story is going. Hopefully you guys understand that, and that's why it's a little higher on the list. It's something I did enjoy reading, just don't know what direction they're going here. It's very slow, and I don't know if Batman 0 Year was needed to last this long at all. It could have been, I mean, a 6-issue story arc instead of a 12-issue story arc. But that's my opinion, and that's number 7 on my list. So, which is shocking, yes, but it was still a really well-written issue. Alright, so now we're up to number 6, which is Superman Wonder Woman, issue 6. Really solid issue. So getting a little tired of the Zod and Fiora story. Even though I really like the fight and everything, it's 6 issues now. We should move on a little bit more. So if there's another issue of just fighting, I probably would have to give it a little lower. But this issue was really had some fun stuff here. We still have Zod and Fiora wanting to actually kill Superman now, and we get some relationship moments between Superman and Wonder Woman. Some really cool, fun action scenes. The art's beautiful for this series. And in the end, we get to see Superman and Wonder Woman are going to be trapped in the Phantom Zone, but they are able to blow the whole thing up. And the end is kind of a cliffhanger because we don't know what happens to Superman and Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's just covered with his cape, and Superman looks pretty dead in the end. So yeah, wonderful art. That's one reason it's been totally up there for the series and why it's number 6 this week. It's really high on my list for 17 comics that came out this week, for me, what I read. So yeah, I really like this issue though. Still solid. I think it's running a little dry that Zod and Fiora are still here, so hopefully that arc does end with the next issue. But still had a lot of fun with this one, and I'm looking forward to see what happens with the next one. So really great art. Action was great, but this does have to move on soon, or else it could get a little bit draggy, start going down with Superman and Wonder Woman. But I don't see that happening. I hope it does end with that next issue, or issue or 2. Alright, now we're up to the top 5. Number 5 is Smallville Alien, issue 4. Really love this issue. Has some great moments with this issue. We get to see Lex. He actually tries to save Clark in this, and this Lex would do that. And that's something I always liked about Smallville Lex is, yeah, you know, he's morally corrupt, but in the end, he would try to save someone. So he's not totally morally corrupt like our DC Comics version of Lex Luthor. So they're trying to defeat the guy who's been trying to fight them. They all do survive. They go to a hospital, and Lex is actually experimenting on his weapons now. He still hates Clark. Hates Superman. And what's going on with Batman here is that he's fighting his other self, which is the Joker. And we find out that Nightwing in the other realm is in a wheelchair. And actually Nightwing of our realm gets stabbed by him. So it's really cool to see that other side is Joker, and then we get to see Oracle technically is Nightwing in that other version. So I really like those references with this Earth 3 version of our Smallville characters. And now we actually get kind of confirmation that Batman will be joining the team for a little while, which I think he's a great addition. I've been loving him in Smallville. So yeah, we get to see that, and that's pretty much what's going on in the end, and that's what happened. And also get a little glimpse of Wonder Woman here, and she's working, and we just see kind of her new look and exactly where she is, because we did have that story arc. I really like this issue. I thought it was really, obviously it's in my top 5. There's some really cool moments, again, with the Earth 3 stuff. I thought was awesome. Everything that's Batman related was awesome in this issue. But then the Superman related stuff were cool too, because we get to see, again, a lighter side of Lex in this issue, which I really liked, and really solid issue. And the art's pretty good for this series. It's long for a $3.99 book. You take your time with this issue. Art's really cool for the cover. I could give this 4 stars, definitely. I really enjoyed this, some great moments, and yeah, this is definitely number 5 on my list. I liked it. Really good issue this week. If you're not reading Smallville, I totally recommend it. There's some of those really great moments in that series. Been loving what Brian Q. Miller is doing with it. Alright, number 4 is Powerpuff Girls, issue 7. Yeah, that's shocking and so high. I actually gave this a 4.5. I love this issue just because it felt so classic Powerpuff Girls to me. We got to see these monsters. It's Monster Day, and there's like 30 monsters in Townsville, and Powerpuff Girls give up in the end. Even the narrator says, "Wait, the Powerpuff Girls, you can't give up now." So I love the dialogue between the narrator and Bubbles and everything. I feel it's so point on to what the show is, and it has such a great tone. And I think it's finally really finding itself with these arcs. It really feels like new episodes of Powerpuff Girls. It's really kid-friendly also. Art's great. It's exactly like the show, and this issue kind of proved that. It felt so classic to me, so I'm going to give that a 4.5. Really enjoyed that issue this week. Alright, number 3 is Avengers Undercover, issue 1. Really was surprised with this issue, and I think that's why it's so high on my list this week. And again, there wasn't so many things that blew my mind this week, but this had to be one of them. This was something that I really enjoyed this week. Again, I didn't read Avengers Arena, wasn't totally interested in the first issue, and then I kind of fell out of it, and I heard it was really good this series. So I was like, you know what, let me technically get the volume 2 of Avengers Arena, see where it goes. And I'm really happy I did. This was, the aftermath of Arcade and his whole pretty much reality show, people interacting with these heroes saying, "Oh my god, that's Havoc," or "That's Chase." They know these people as celebrities, and they're actually voting for people, and you see the world after Avengers Arena. I thought it was, it started out so perfectly. Then in the end it kind of fell out where they had to save one of the members, I'm going to get his name, hold on. His name was Bloodstone. So he's going nuts because he's actually became insane, and he wants to kill Arcade, and then seems like he got stuck with these other villains towards the end of the issue. Now the rest of the Avengers Arena team are going to go try to save him. So I wasn't sure about the ending. I wasn't totally intrigued with the cliffhanger, but honestly the whole issue really I was impressed with. I thought really the start was great. The way they really laid it all out. I was intrigued with every character. We actually got to see some of the Runaways here. And again, half the characters I already knew. Havoc I've seen previously, all the Runaways characters. There's maybe half the other cast I didn't really know. So that also helped that I kind of knew some of these characters, especially the characters that are really had the spotlight in this issue. But yeah, really liked it, and again, glad to see some of the Runaways in this issue. Hopefully we'll see some guest appearances as the series goes on. I think the art was a little bit too cartoony in my opinion. That's also a reason I couldn't really get it to 5 stars. A little bit too cartoony, a little bit too blobby. So we'll have to see if that gets fixed. But loved the story, really did. I'm going to give it 4.5, and that was number 3 on my list. Really enjoyed this week, and looking forward to see where Avengers Undercover goes. I'll definitely be picking up more for that. Alright, number 2 is Nightwing, issue 29. This is the second last issue for the ending. And I really enjoyed this issue this week. We get to see the continuation of this girl who lost her parents. And she's going to try to defeat the killer. And she has no chance of defeating this killer. She's grabbed to the throat after she tries to swing one punch. And really, this whole issue is Nightwing looking back at the past, who he is, and how his past defined him. And he saves the girl and said, hey, if you ever need me, call me, you know. And I love really that friendship they made, because I've never seen that with Nightwing, where he really takes someone in that, you know, went through the same thing he did. So, and I love the last line for this issue. It's always been about catching people when they fall, because I've always been part of a circus. It was never, I'm going to actually have to read that whole quote because it goes into the last day. He said, because when you get down to it, my life isn't about the costumes or the bad guys. It's not about cities or symbols. It's way simpler than that. I mean, I grew up in a circus. It's always been about catching people when they fall. And that's one thing I loved about Nightwing, and the total opposite about Batman. You know, there's always that comparison of Dick Grayson and Bruce. And what's always been about Dick Grayson is that he had this hope, and catching people before they fall. It's never been, I'm a symbol of Gotham. It's always been about something else. And I really like that narration. I was really impressed by this issue, because I haven't been loving the Chicago story, but I think this is definitely a really cool sending out for Nightwing leading into this last issue, which I don't know what's going to happen, because it's going to be a tie to Forever Evil. So I really like this issue. I'm going to give this 4.5. Still not loving the anime-ish type art. That's why I really couldn't get it to 5 stars. But overall, the story was great. Really liked this issue this week. So I'm going to give that 2 stars. I mean, that's number 2. I'm going to give that 4.5 stars. Alright, so my number 1 pick is Justice League of America, issue 13, which is kind of no surprise. I've been loving this story arc. It's been my pick of the week a lot lately. And with this, I'm going to also say nothing totally blew my mind, and Justice League America was really the only thing that totally blew my mind. I mean, my top 3 were really some great issues there, and my top 5 in general was really great issues. But there was a lot of mediocre issues this week, but there was no bad issues also. But with Justice League America, I think this really was really great. We get to see in the end that Stargirl never escaped. And again, I saw this coming, so it's not that, it wasn't the shock factor. I saw that she never escaped, but we get to see her weakness always had been, I'm going to read it for you guys. Your prison was self-doubt, guilt, pressure to succeed, and a fear of failure. And I feel like that's what every teenager really feels, because, like, the question of who am I, you're going to have self-doubt. You're going to feel, can I do this? Can I not do this? Should I try? That's why I feel like Stargirl is such a relatable character, because there's always that question of who am I? And I think that really shined throughout this whole story arc. And I think that's really relatable to anybody, really finding who you are throughout life. And that really shined throughout this whole Justice League of America story arc. And I like that they really showed who Stargirl was. I think her character totally shined throughout the story arc. I thought Martian Manhunter was such a great unlikely teammate. And even though I kind of saw the ending, I don't think it was a cop-out. That was her prison. It felt like her prison. And also, yeah, there were some cluttered moments, but I like that. It was her mind. It was the chaos of what was going on. We learned about Stargirl's past where we didn't know about Stargirl's past previously. We really didn't know anything about her for the New 52. And we see that a lot of things were the same with Stargirl, but she had a brother who she lost, and she had to deal with that. But then she had that hope where her parents said, you know what, you need to be that symbol. And that's what's cool about Stargirl. She's the brighter side, the younger side of the Justice League. You know, where Batman's down on the dumps, Stargirl is that other section where she really is that symbol of hope. So I like that throughout this whole issue, this whole story arc. And I think this issue was a really great narration and really ended that well. I thought it tied up loose ends, and I really hope we could get more Stargirl. And I think this could prove that Stargirl could get her own series. I would love to see that in the future. Let's petition that. But yeah, I'm going to give this 5 stars. I thought it was a really good ending. I didn't feel it was a cop-out, and I thought it was good. I thought this whole story arc was really great. And as a Stargirl fan, I could say that. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and of course I'll have Comic Uno episode 40 next week. I already talked about in the beginning what the whole Comic Uno episode 40 will be about. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno, and guys, don't forget to follow me on Twitter for Comic Uno and the rant situations, and don't forget to like my Facebook page. This is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline. Bye guys.